Emotivism is a non-cognitive branch of metaethics, which suggests that ethical statements, they're more just like opinions as opposed to facts. They're just expressions of our subjective judgments. They are not true and they are meaningless. And we're going to look at some of the philosophers and we'll look at some of the strengths and weaknesses of this branch of metaethics. So let's start with Hume. Now, he shared a belief that the reason why people are kind to one another and they behave in a so-called moral way is because there's a genuine feeling of compassion and welfare for other human beings. That's why we're so nice to them. It's not because our reason dictates us to do so, like some normative ethical theories suggest. He also supports the view that you cannot get a value, a moral, ethical statement, an ought from a fact and is. So just because um, this person is kind, that does not mean we all ought to be kind. You cannot get a value from a fact, is what he's trying to say. You can't build a bridge between two separate worlds. There are facts, which is he did this, she did this, X, Y, Z. And there are moral judgments, which are you should be this, you should be that, this is good, this is bad. When they're not true, they're just meaningless. It's just our opinion. Who cares about it? And it's all to do with our emotions, and this is our way of expressing emotions as opposed to something which is rational and it's thought through and it's a fact, and yes, we should believe it. This is extended by G.M. Moo. He used the term naturalistic fallacy. So like what he's trying to say is that if you have this statement, eating chips is pleasurable. Now, if I try and substitute pleasurable with morally good, eating chips is morally good. You cannot substitute it. It's not the same thing. Just like saying, Tom is a bachelor. Tom is an unmarried man. You can't substitute. You cannot substitute pleasurable or nice or I liked it or something like that with morally good. You just can't do it, and that's why you cannot say that it's a fact, and you cannot get an ought from an is what he's trying to say. Then Ayer, he was the biggest contributor. He had a lot to say, and he was a strong believer in this branch of metaethics. He was a logical positivist, and he said the only meaningful sentences that exist are analytic or synthetic. Analytical sentences are ones which are true within themselves, like 2 plus 2 equals 4, that is true within itself. And synthetic statements are ones which are being verified. So like if I say the house opposite me is on fire, then I can go and observe and see, yes, it's on fire, therefore it is a true statement. So he just said that these statements, these ethical statements, abortion is wrong, murder is wrong, blah blah blah, they're all just emotive responses to our expressions of preferences, attitudes, or feelings. They are our way of expressing things. They're not any specific thing. They're just how we express. They do not mean anything at all. He describes this is actually sometimes described as a boo or a hooray attitude, which means that you stole, boo, you did charity work, hurrah. It's not like that you actually have to do it. It's just like we support it, we approve of it. It's just something good. It's nothing to do with morality because it's just opinion. I know I keep saying it, but that's basically what all these people are trying to say. Stevenson, he was an American philosopher, and he said just because they had no meaning, just because they were meaningless, he agreed. He said they do have a purpose and they do have an effect. He said that the purpose is to manipulate people. We use emotion to manipulate people, to make people do things, those kind of things, and the effect is people actually do those things. And he has two theories of language. He said there's two types of language. There's descriptive and dynamic. Descriptive language, as it suggests, is just purely to describe the fact. So he came home from work. That's descriptive language. Whereas dynamic language is used to explain our feelings or to evoke feelings and so on, or to manipulate somebody by evoking those feelings. So, and it's the reason why he said that in moral debates we don't talk about facts, we talk about ethical statements, is because no matter how much you put your argument forward on the table, the person who's your opponent, they're probably going to stick to their argument. They're never going to listen to you. So it's only by using these emotive, manipulative ways can we change what they believe. So that is why ethical statements are actually meaningless. That's the purpose they have. And then, to the question, why is there so much moral discourse then? This is what he called a moral deadlock. It's because how much you try, the other person will not agree with you. That's why you have to use emotive language to to sort of put your view across. I haven't got many strengths for this theory. I can't think of it. I like this theory, but I do not agree with it. I personally, before we go to strengths and weaknesses, I like this theory and I agree and I think it's correct, but then I think that we need moral statements, and I think this is what the theory is missing. We need moral statements, because otherwise the implications for the future are terrible. And to be honest, moral discourse is something more than this, which I don't think humans can understand, because I'm a theist and I believe it's probably something to do with God. It's something to do with somewhere, and I don't know yet. So that's just my opinion. They said that all these contributions, particularly Stevenson, are valid and logical contributions for the 21st century. They're great. And they raise fundamental questions about morality and the systems we use. And it's good because this shows that people are on the ball and they're making sure that we're not just sticking to some ancient thing which actually might be just a bunch of lies. So it's good. It's bringing up some things. However, it does not work for a lot of people. It is not a popular theory at all. James Rachel says that it's illogical to draw parallels between you put your finger in the fire and then you go ouch, to reading a newspaper article about a murder and saying that is wrong. You're saying you can't say they're the same thing because they're two different things. Some morality is something much more spiritual. It's on a different level. Yeah, because it's just dismissive of all moral discussion. It's just like people don't like it because then there's no point of moral discussion. Why do we have philosophers? And you just start to think like, why does it exist? Peter Vardy supports his view, saying that that means that moral debate is just a lot of hot air, which obviously he does not agree with. It's dangerous. This is my personal thing. It's dangerous. It's scary. It questions our legal system. Why do we even have laws? Oh, shouldn't we just let our criminals go? Because clearly there's no ethics in the world. There's no morality. This is what that's saying. It's just our opinion. Just because I think murder is wrong, or the judge or the vast majority of people think murder is wrong, it should not be put in the legal system. It's crazy. And to say that the manipulativeness, it's all bad or whatever it's saying, it's like when we see advertising, when we see blackmail, those are all the same thing. They're using language to manipulate you. But then are they meaningless too? No, because they're trying to portray a message. Blackmail is clearly not meaningless. So how can you say that ethical statements are meaningless? It just doesn't flow. McIntyre says that in language we have instances where the language does not mean what it literally means. Like if I say, oh, I'm boiling, I'm not literally in a pan boiling with water. I'm boiling, I'm feeling hot. So, Stevenson doesn't sort of talk about these kind of things and how it can apply to morality. Morality can have other meanings that you just don't know about. And there are other meanings of English that we just don't know. So, and according to Stevenson, we're all out to get each other. The primary use of me sitting here talking to you about why I think, abortion is wrong or right, or why I think stealing is wrong or right, is because I'm out to get you and I'm out to convince you. It's stupid. I mean, where are you going to find evidence for it? And it doesn't work. Well, I hope this video helps. I've got loads of notes on my blog, so please have a look.